So that's really not. No. Words. Words. She said, the poet. So look at me to see what I've seen. You need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the co-federation solar, sun, our starship, planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager and shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore our and all our in fact familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, rebellion and future, always balancing, to lovingly, genealogically, and boldly become and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have interdimensional reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space-time lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum. Balance, combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both in each, and each both in all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunder's blast, she merges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She's risen from the nativity of Caldera. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
May the circle be around the unbroken. May the love of God is the air in your heart. Bury me and bury heart. Where we meet again. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be.
महालक्ष्मी मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्त्व महाशक्ति महारथी महाभोगा महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धि महासिद्धि महायोगेश्वरेश्वरी महातंत्र महामंत्र महायंत्र महासना महायागक्रमाराध्या महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्पक महाताण्डवसाक्षिणी महाकामेशपति महात्रिपुरसुन्दरी चतुष्षष्टि उपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टि कलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टि कोटि योगिनी गण सेविता
Just a smile like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus. Unless you were right. No. Words. Words. Describe. I should have said. The poem. So beautiful. So beautiful. Look at me to see what I've seen. I need to see.
This day I call the heavens and the earth, these as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not our new millennial law. Welcome to our morning broadcast, our early in the days sunrise broadcast. Bear with us. We have some technical delays, but we are here. We all have a dream to make reality now. This month, January, on the ancient calendar was associated with a divinity archetype that was looking in both directions, back and forward. Janus was the name of this goddess god figure. In this month, many things have happened over time, and many people have risen to prominence of our attention as common queens and common kings. This is true of every month of the year, in fact. We have a family where the common queens and kings are especially associated with spring and autumn. But we are also in connection with common queens and kings who are especially associated with January. This broadcast is within 1 month of my cosmic conception day, which is December 25th. I am the first but not last or only cosmic Christ, in conjunction with other people who have virtues similar and yet different than mine. I am risen up with women and with youth, female and male, age 37 and younger in particular. Our culture has taught us to expect and look first for kings. But I say unto you that this time, our first task is to look for our common queens, our living goddesses, so that our common kings can have a safe world in which to emerge. The assassinations of men like Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi, who was such an inspiration to Martin Luther King, and Steve Biko and others, and the forgetting of men like Tom Lambert Paine, who delivered Common Sense in January of 1776, occurs because our society also forgets the multitude of common queens. When the common queens are forgotten, the kings of kindness are endangered. When the women do not recognize their own importance and those of their daughters, their sons are endangered and cannot complete their tasks as well as they would in a context where both female and male were recognized as having divinity within them. The divine queens and kings, the divine goddesses and gods within all of us. Here is my family on a heart light and the budding, blooming flowers that represent their infinite growth process, marvelous and miraculous. I am having some technical difficulties. I want to alert you that there will be delays because my computer seems to be slow today, and I want to show you a great many things, but it may take a while for them to come up on screen, so bear with us. I usually start our broadcast with a bit of a ceremony for our own family of queens and kings of peace culture. The light is on in all our hearts. We have with us marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers in water. Hugs and love to all, both in each and every one as soon as possible. The light is on in all our hearts. We have with us marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers. Hugs and love to all, both in each and every one as soon as possible. There are in my family right now, and in your family, common kings and common queens and common kings of common sense, awaiting recognition for their infinite abilities and gifts. I know this for sure in my family. And they themselves don't know how gifted they are. As we celebrate this time, which is designated as remembrance of Martin Luther King, let us remember that he worked with his family and his community, his beloved family community, which he himself called it that. And they were his inspiration, as well as his comrades and colleagues in all of his efforts. He had a wife, he had a mother, he had daughters, as well as sons. That's true of almost all our families. The question is whether or not we learned the lessons that were occurring around the time of his central leadership at this time, learn the lessons of why he was not able to reach the promised land himself. And remember Coretta, Yolanda, Bernice. I have to see the name of his mother. I have to look that up. I don't actually know it. And we'll look that up today. And his great-grandmothers, which include, of course, Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth, and looking into the future, women like many who are on the episodes of Stargate and Star Trek, who are women of color. But this is true of your heritage too. Your heritage brings you common queens and kings. He considered himself, and their family considers themselves Christians, which means they thought they were worshiping Christ and worshiping Jesus of Nazareth alone. The reality is that we reveal is that Maryam of Magdala and Jesus of Nazareth and Miriam of Nazareth and all of their kin, had they not been thwarted by patriarchal embedded habits, would have completed their mission 2,000 years ago. Our job is to complete it now and bring eternal life without the need for martyrdom to all, females and males. We're starting with women and youth aged 37 and younger, female and male, as our co-secretary generals co-seguirás, but we are looking back, especially to the women who did not gain the limelight, who did not have the spotlight, but were just as important. Martin Luther King himself would have been quick to say that he couldn't have done very much without Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks' birthday is February 4th, but we don't have a holiday for her. But many people do celebrate her. But even around this world, there are places where women who want to sit in a regular space in the bus are driven off the bus by people who are still practicing patriarchy. And they are not black. They might be Persian. They might be Cambodian. They might be Israeli. They might be many different groups. And they have the same problem. Because as John Lennon said, women are the nigger of the world. That's what the facts tell us. For Martin Luther King to have completed his journey successfully, he would have had to focus with John Lennon and other men, Robert F. Kennedy, and so forth, more concertedly on the situation of women on this planet. So we're going to be doing some of that today. We will be reading a revised version of the I Have a Dream speech, which is intersectional and includes the gender aspect, as well as the racial, the class, the primogeniture, birth order, and especially the nationalistic preoccupations that divide humanity and prevent it from realizing its goddess and godlike genius. We are the Stargate and Star Trek generations. That is the trump. And that is the trumpet that you heard when you looked at the statues of liberties representing women of all racial and heritage groups. So I'll show you some of our own queens and kings, as well as we'll also start with Coretta. We have a consciousness currency that includes Coretta King with Corazon Aquino. They were contemporaries, and their names both mean Queen of Hearts. If people celebrate Martin Luther King this weekend without celebrating the women of his family, they didn't get it. They don't get it, and they won't achieve it. But if they remember the women of his family and assure that women around the world achieve balance and harmony on behalf of each other, their children, and their men, then we will have no further martyrs, and we will all become risen. Bear with us. Be right back. We'll drink the milk of human kindness for all, both in each and every one, as soon as possible. We'll sip the water of loving living, kindness, enlightened planets for all, both in each and every one, as soon as possible. Mother Teresa said, if you want peace in the world, start with your own family. Well, we're all the same family. The modern archaeologists tell us that everyone on Earth is no more than 50th cousin and cousin from everyone else. But we have an obligation to those who are closer in our circle of genetic and nurturing experience. And so I am holding up these. These are the common queens and kings of peace of the various generations of our family. Becoming so, I hope, and I pray, and I act intercessorily for them so that they can have that experience. Hugs to all of them and to all of your family, of all your various hues and heritages. We all have a dream. It is the same dream. It is common sense. And as I say, Martin Luther King had a mother. He had many great and grandmothers. They were started out as slaves in this part of the world. In Africa, they might have been slaves or they might have been princesses, depending on what part of Africa they might have been in. They might have been a common tribe of Ubuntu, happy community, depending on whether or not the structure of the community was patriarchal or matriarchal or bilineal. It makes a huge difference in terms of the freedom and the peace of its family members, its community members, its citizens. I will come back to some of our more family members I want to concentrate on in a little bit. But let's go to the family of Martin Luther, of Coretta and Bernice and Yolanda, queens and kings. I don't know what Coretta's maiden name is. We should find out. We can look it up right now. Bear with me, this takes a little while. But all of this information is obviously very abundantly available on the internet. His name wasn't just King. If he was alive today, he'd probably have hyphenated it. His wife didn't think to ask him because she wasn't very educated in the area of women's studies, because women of that generation were not. But if they lived in Spain or in Netherlands or in Latin America, he would have carried her name as well as his own. And he had a greater likelihood of success, instead of just being co-opted by what we see right now, a very racist and sexist political apparatus in the United States, which celebrates his holiday stickering behind their back, that they threw him down and they defeated his dream. But actually, when they defeat his dream, they defeat, and her dream, they defeat their own dreams. Because that's the way it works. What goes around comes around. And those who do not show love for their sister and brother human being, on many levels of sisterhood and brotherhood, on all the levels of sisterhood and brotherhood, can only succeed in a mean and stupid culture that destroys itself. That, if that can be considered a success, that isn't a success. It's the ultimate failure, with the delusion that it's a success. So let's see. I'm waiting for a chance to look up the maiden names of the women of Martin's family. In my family, the maiden names are Margulies, Silverkind, Zalkind, Feldmarian, and others, many more. Wiener, and Salmon, and Light, and Alexander, which means savior of the world, and Gardner. There are many women's names. And when you look back in your family tree, you need to look at both the mother's names, branches, and especially start with them, and the father's branches, to understand how the yin and the yang came together in your family, how to achieve balance that brings a risen condition to all of them, using the New Millennial Golden Rule, which you can read about. You've seen the description of this conference. It's at 5050now.wordpress.com, as well as our I Have a Dream that we are making reality right now speech, which I will read parts of all through this week and weekend. Now, we are celebrating other birthdays in this time that have been forgotten. Alice Paul brought the greatest number of votes to the greatest number of people in North America. Her birthday was January 11th. She's not considered worthy of a holiday, I guess, because she was a woman. She went on hunger strikes. She marched. No holiday. Fascinating, isn't it? Okay, let's look up Coretta's maiden name. I'm looking it up. I'll put this on screen share for you in a minute. Oh, Coretta Scott, of course. How can I miss that? I should have known that. Coretta Scott King. Now let's see what it says about her family. Coretta Scott was the third of 4 children born to Obadiah Scott, or let's put it in the reverse order, to Bernice McMurray Scott and Obadiah Scott in Marion, Alabama. Oh, there's that perfect name for my family. Our family is all about Marys and Marions and Mars and Mar-named people. It just seems to be that that's some kind of inspiration and a guidepost. It's almost a neon sign that someone's going to do something important if they've got that Mar in their name or in their connections. Her maternal grandparents were Molly, and listen to this, Martin Van Buren McMurray, and they were African and Irish. There's quite a bit about her genealogy here. She had a paternal grandmother by the name of Cora. Cora. Ra is in my name, and Jefferson Scott. Okay, there's quite a bit about her, and I'm glad. How many people will think to look this up who are celebrating Martin Luther King? By not looking it up, they defeat the dream of Martin Luther King. You cannot have equality for anyone if you don't have equality for women. Can't be done. It's that simple. So let me put this on screen share for you can look at it. Go to Wikipedia. It's right in front of you. taking a while for it to come up. As I said, you have to bear with me during this broadcast. The computer is slow with it. Not coming up. I don't know why. Well, go to Wikipedia. It's not producing the screen share. I don't know why. It's saying that it will, and then it's not doing it. I think my computer might just have a lack of disk space. I thought I made quite a bit, but it is apparently having a trouble. Yep, no response here. Oh, there it is. Okay, there's the Wikipedia page. It took a while. Okay, here it is. Martin Luther King's wife, Coretta Scott, Queen King. Her name, Coretta, means crowned of the heart. She is a queen. It's right embedded in her name. The name McMurray Scott relates to the plantation owners, likely, who owned her family when her family was slaves in North America. King is probably a similar appellation for Martin Luther King. They were born with African names. Their great and grand and way back, their family is from Africa. They had different names, probably just as beautiful. It's important to remember that, to not anglicize everything, although it helps us to understand the meaning of their names, that these were a common queen and a common king, because they fought for the empowerment of the common person. They were not interested in riches of their own. They were not interested in fame for its own sake as an egoistic pursuit. They were here for everybody, and they learned their methods from Kasturba Kapadia Gandhi, whose birthday is April 11th, which is a birthday in my family of a very young divine person. And Mahatma Gandhi, whose birthday in October is a week away from mine and shows the typical Libran obsession with justice and balance. These people, let's see when Coretta King's birthday is. Let me go back to this and see if we can find it out. Very slow computer. I'm sorry, you have to bear with me. It's very slow. Interestingly, it doesn't show her date of birth yet. I don't see it. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, yes, it is. April 27th, 1927. Now, there's a lucky number, 27. I'm looking forward by that date this month that we have achieved most of our goal on a transformation paradigm shift out of patriarchy into egalitarian, sustainable, star-gated, risen, equinox, true Q society. So, interestingly enough, her date of passing is also the date that India celebrates Mahatma Gandhi. That's an interesting synchronicity. I don't think that the people of these two cultures spent enough time together. The family of Kasturba and Mahatma Gandhi and Coretta and Martin Luther King had everything in common. So this is important to be thinking about as we celebrate this holy day, time of these important people. We have another essay on our website. In addition to the I Have a Dream, We All Have a Dream sermon about the rainbow, which includes the work of the Avalon Camelot of the Brannock Skakel, Canon Fitzgerald, Daley Shriver Cuomo clan, who had also a martyr, many martyrs of young men in their family for the same reason, patriarchy. We lost Robert F. Kennedy very much within a few months of losing Martin Luther King for the same reason. The women had not empowered themselves. The society remained violent. The best are fallen and become endangered in a society that is perniciously violent against its own members and cancerous toward them, because women are second-class citizens, the niggers of that society, the nigger of the world. So the way to fulfill the holiday of Martin Luther King is to remember the women of his family. Let's look up the name of his mother. Their daughters are Bernice and Yolanda. I believe one of them passed away fairly recently also. I don't know what the reason was, but I'm sure she was not appreciated enough, because that's the typical way in our society. Yolanda and Bernice. And of course, there's Martin Luther King. Yolanda passed away in 2007, a year after her mom. They both have not gotten enough credit. Let's give them the credit they deserve. And Bernice, a younger daughter, the youngest of the child, she can bring us great peace too, if we will look to her. Let's look her up. Born in spring. And she's a minister, but likely she has not talked about goddess aspects yet and doesn't know that much about them from her African heritage, because people who were socialized as Christians under a patriarchal interpretation of Christianity have missed about half of what Christianity really was. It was empowering to women at a time of great patriarchy. See, she supported Barack Obama in 2008. So did many of the Bouvier Kennedy clan, and so did members of my own family, and I did not. I ran for president in the millennial year, and I stopped voting after that because I saw not enough women on the tickets. I had a gender consciousness. The average and even exceptional people of the North American continent seem to have none. I knew that Mr. Obama would be tokenized and puppetized. Many other Black people know this too. We're not deluded. Behind the facade of a White House with a Black president is a white CEO community and family community of enabling women. And Mrs. Obama, we have reached out to her and to Lois, her mother, and to her daughters, Malia and Sasha. And Malia, interestingly enough, has the name of one of the major cities of Atlantis, which was an egalitarian society. And the women were major in the decision-making and were considered incarnations of goddess. So these are some interesting things to be thinking about. And let's look up Yolanda, who passed away in 2007 without enough fanfare to remember her. She's in November, an autumnal birth. She also was a ministress. She said, "It's easier to build monuments than to make a better world. It seems we've stood still and in many ways gone backward since Martin Luther King was alive." This woman was honest. That is the truth, because we left the women out of the bargain here. In North America, the women got tokenized and co-opted. They got a little bit of salary. They thought they made a lot of progress. In fact, they have less than they used to have, because they have less time with their children, and their families have less time with one another. And the situation of the United States for women has gotten much worse than it was even during the time of the civil rights movement. In many, many ways, not completely. In some ways, we're a little bit more aware of women, but collectively, we have more women in poverty now than we did then. These are the truths. So if we have a dream, it has to include women. Let's look at Martin Luther King's Wikipedia page and see the name of his mother. His mother and his grandmothers. Passed away in April through an assassination. We have to have an April rebirth. And we do. We do. I can tell you, we do. Alberta Williams King was his mother. Let's look her up. She played a significant role in the affairs of her church. She was shot and killed in the church 6 years after the assassination of her son. I did not know that. Did you know that? Oh my. And listen to this. She taught for a short time before her wedding to Martin Luther King's father, but she had to quit because married female teachers were not then allowed. The first child is a daughter. Martin Luther King had a sister, born September 11th. That's a power number, 9/11. That's a warning about women being the niggers of the world. That was forgotten by this family. Let's look her up. Her name had Christ right in it, Christine. She was anointed too. She is still with us. Oh, we'll have to connect with her. She teaches at Spelman College. and is author and public speaker. Like the Kennedy family, these people have had a lot of loss, and I'll tell you why. Because they didn't focus seriously enough on their women. They didn't have any member of their family focusing seriously enough on the empowerment of women, especially Black women, but all women. We'll have to call her. I will call her this week and let her know of this broadcast. Now, these are some of the women. I want you to see the consciousness currencies that we did. I wanted to link Coretta King. I really could have made one with the women of this entire family, and I should, and I will do that. But I had made one originally to link us beyond the thinking of our national boundaries, and so I put together Coretta King and Corazon Aquino. Corazon Aquino became a president. Her country has had 2 female presidents. Corazon, when it had a Black woman running for president, Carol Moseley Brown of Chicago. Carol Moseley, and let's say it's Braun, not Brown, and it also has AU in there, which means golden. When she ran, she was mostly ignored, and unfortunately, that process so wore her down of seeing the sexism in her country as well as the racism, that instead of digging in her heels and saying we really need to attend to Black women candidates like Cynthia McKinney, who also ran for the Green Party, she turned it over to a male, Dean, Howard Dean. She endorsed Howard Dean. I guess she didn't think there were any other Democratic women worth endorsing. I don't really know why. Or women of any party, because Cynthia McKinney ran shortly thereafter that, or maybe that same year. Isn't that kind of odd? Because that's the way North American women are. They don't take themselves seriously. They don't take each other seriously. As a result, our world is tanking, and Martin Luther King's dream is nowhere, except for me, because I've risen to save the whole thing. And especially my family, who I want to rise up with me, become risen with me quickly. Because as Mother Teresa said, if you want to make peace in the world, start with your family. And the problem of the Queen and King family in our generations is that they not talk enough about Coretta, Yolanda, Bernice, Willie, and so forth. That is where they went wrong, and the Rosa Parks was not integrated enough into the presence of the bosom of that family, and there wasn't enough talk about the situation of Black women and women like Carol Moseley Braun and Shirley Chisholm, and who were the right people in a culture that is still at the wrong time, is currently yet extremely patriarchal because its media is so patriarchal that it doesn't know what it's doing. The women who work for the media are the greatest whores on this planet right now. I love them very much. I know some of them personally, and I love them. But they're betraying everyone, because every day they get on the teleprompter and tell us Mr. Obama is a president. No, he couldn't be a president, because this country was founded on common sense. And in 1789, they threw out common sense, and we still haven't had our revolution. So now, until me, I am the re-evolution. I am the truth and the light. It is the new millennial golden rule. It is the ultimate paradigm shift. You can read it. Now we'll go to our website. The new millennial golden rule is the most important paradigm shift this world has ever seen. It is the new law of the planet Earth. Even if my own family quickly to be the co-leaders with me as quickly as I would like them to be, and I hope they will. I have family everywhere on Earth. We are all related. Somebody will catch up, and my family will come in at their time when they are ready. I want them to be ready first because that is their birthright. I know our genealogy. But these are distant cousines. They're not so distant from me, and they're young children, and my sister and cousines and all of us have children with these enormous capabilities. But that's only for one heritage. It's from the ancient heritage, very important ancient heritages, the Greco-Roman and the Judaic and Christian, very important for Western mindset. However, we have other people on various branches who are already doing this job among the Hindus and among the Baha'is, and we have many, many cousins and cousins who are doing the job. The question is, do we want to enjoy the mantle of co-leadership? I do. I want to. I step up to the plate, like Martin Luther King said, I'm a drum majorette. I'm out here. Come, follow me. I'm out in the front. Take my lead. Follow me. I'm not afraid. I have the whole answer this time. It isn't just about racism. It's about genderism first and foremost. And then it's about racism, classism, nationalism, primogeniture in families, psychological primogeniture, narcissism, individualism, and consumerism at the expense of the total flowering of human genius, which is not primarily competitive, although it does have competitive aspects, but is primarily cooperative, circle forming, Native American indigenous wisdom of forming that circle so you can make confederations like we have already made. So the new millennial golden rule is right here. I have young people in my family who are already princesses and princes of peace. I have women in my family who are queens, Corettas. Their names even have queen in the name. They carry the name of Mar also, many of them. Yet they regard each other as of no importance. I know how important they are, but they don't. So let's see if they'll catch on. I hope so. Here's the new millennial golden rule. 5 pillars of planet-saving change. Let me make sure that we're on screen share. No, we lost our screen share, so go back to that. I have a member of my family who's born on President's Day, a woman. I have another one who's born with which is already the law of all the of India, inspired by the family that did inspire Coretta and Martin Luther King to truth force nonviolent activism, that of Kasturba Kapadia and Mohandas Gandhi, the Mahatma Amma and the Mahatma gave us the dream of the Panchayat Raj, and it was made law by the family of their not so distant relations, Sonia Maino and Rajiv Gandhi. And their children, Rahul and Priyanka, have gotten a little off track in forgetting the importance of the Panchayat Raj, and also not focusing on the fact that the media, especially in the West, covered this up. The Panchayat Raj is the very answer to the fulfillment of the dream of Coretta and Martin Luther King. But not just for Black people, for all people. It is the fulfillment of Miriam Lambert and Thomas Lambert Paine's dream of divine democracy and of the Enlightenment. It is the fulfillment of it. But right now, my website is going down here, so let's see if we can get it back. I have to wait for the page to come up. Okay, here we are. The Panchayat Raj, there you see it there. That is the village rule. That means divine democracy in every neighborhood on earth. Love thy neighbor as thyself, female and male democracy. It has to have 50% women in every decision-making process, as well as 50% men. That doesn't mean the women and the men can't meet independently also, too. They may want to do that. But when they actually make the decisions, they'll meet together. Now, we have a 9-month period where that grouping is just going to be women, young women and young men, men under age 37 and younger. I have nieces and nephews in that age group. I have sisters and cousina women who have children in that age group. That age group is essentially the most important next generation that this world has ever had. They have divine within them. Their forming the circle will make them all co-Christs, profoundly so. Their mothers will become co-goddesses, profoundly so. As soon as they embrace the new millennial golden rule, which I see everyone in the United States shuffling around, like step and fetch it shuffling. Stop shuffling, everybody. Do you want a future or do you want extinction and death? You're going to have to choose now. I tell you, Mother, Father, Goddess, God is making you choose. If you ignore this, if you continue to ignore this, your future will not be a good one. You will have karmic consequences for your failure, and you will have environmental and personal consequences. I'm having trouble with the website. It is, the broadcast is slow. It's not presenting it well. I think you have this on the screen. I can't tell. Right now it's stuck. In a few minutes, I think I'm going to stop this broadcast and come back on, because it seems like this is not transmitting properly now. It's stopped. So I'm going to take a break. And in about an hour or so, I'll be back on continuing this broadcast. Look for it on the events, on Google's Hangouts on the Air. We will continue to show you more of this famous family and my famous family, less than famous, but just as familially important to all our one family. Talk about some of the other women who have risen as I have risen, as holy figures, God, rising, helping to raise up all women and all youth, female and male, age 37, first go first, and then after 9 to 18 months, re-including the older men. During those 9 to 18 months, the older men need to focus on the errors of the hubris of older men in sending younger men to die for them and in treating women like they were a little bit more than glorified maids and secretaries and teleprompter readers without any brains. Maybe they think that's true, and maybe that is true, but that's because we have made it so, and it's ugly and it's wrong. Let's fix it. I'm going to stop the broadcast now because this is not doing well. So technically we're going to have to stop.